Today, we're going to show you how to make an instant hot noodle and a plant-based hot dog.
And the secret is Burger Binder. It's a special type of methylcellulose that allows you to make these great things. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Garrett.
And I'm Janie Wang, one of the owners of Modernist Pantry. And here on WTF, every Tuesday we show you new ingredients, techniques, share fun recipes that you can do in your own kitchen. So remember, subscribe and ring the bell and you'll get notified of everything new that we come up with. Now, today we're going to be talking about an ingredient called Druid's Grove Burger Binder. And it's an ingredient we first introduced a few months ago because we had used it, ironically, to make sausages that are plant-based, but sausage binder just didn't roll off the tongue in the same way. So we called it Burger Binder, and now that we have this really great ingredient, we're thinking, what else can we do with it? You know, if you already bought it and you're like, I'm already making sausages, what else can I do? We want to show you today a couple different new ways in order to use Burger Binder. And Scott, for people who may have not have watched our other episodes, which will be in the description below, what exactly is Burger Binder and what makes it different from some of the other types of products that we carry?
So Burger Binder is a type of methylcellulose, and it has very specific properties. It's a super gelling methylcellulose. So when you heat it up, it is going to become very firm, and that's why it works really great in things like sausages and even in our new recipe here, which is like a plant-based hot dog. So when you heat it up, it's going to be very firm, and it's going to hold on to that texture for a long time. Usually methylcellulose, as it cools, it melts back. This obviously does return to more of a soft state, but it does hold its shape really well, and that's why it works great with these hot dogs. Also, other great things that methylcellulose can do, as it heats, it gels, so we're able to make really cool kind of quick instant noodles out of pretty much any liquid.
Yeah, and I know that you're going to demo that today, but first I want to address a commonly asked question that we've been getting since we started doing more of the plant-based recipes, and that question is, well, I don't have Burger Binder, but I do have this methylcellulose at home. Can I just substitute one for the other just by like playing around with ratios?
So no. The short answer is no. This one is specifically used for this because it has those super gelling qualities. It has the specific viscosity for this. So while you could put other methylcellulose in there, it's not going to give you the same effect. So there's tons of different types of methylcellulose, and they all have, like I said, different viscosities when you mix them up. And then they also have different gelling strengths, and some of them don't really gel well. So there's different grades. You know, there's A, there's K, there's E, there's F. There's tons of different types of grades, and unless you know specifics about each one, you're not really going to quite grasp what you can then place in place of the Burger Binder, which I don't really think anything can be put in place of the Burger Binder for these specific recipes. Yeah,
if you are wondering, you want to know more about methylcellulose in general, you can get the link to our Methocell primer in the link in the description below as well. So all this information will be in there if you decide you want to do the deep dive into it. But for today, we're going to concentrate on, showing you kind of two new cool ways that we've come up with to use their Burger Binder. So Scott, what is the first thing you want to talk about?
So the first thing I want to talk about is this almost like an instant pho noodle. So rather than putting regular vermicelli inside of a pho, we're going to take a bunch of different components of flavorings for pho and then make them into a noodle using the Burger Binder.
Okay.
So I have here is just some water and a little bit of lime juice. So I'm going to put that into my blender here.
Okay.
So very simple. I'm going to leave this for last. This is just cilantro, so I'm going to leave this for last. But then I'm going to put in some ginger, and this is literally just raw ginger. I didn't even have to peel it because we are going to blend this and then strain it afterwards, so you don't have to worry about peeling it.
Okay.
Right. As long as it's washed, it's okay. Right. We have a little bit of green onions. I'm going to use half of this, and then I'll save some just for the a little bit more garnish on top. A touch of sugar because you do want a bit of sweetness in there. You can use soy sauce, or you can use some sort of fish sauce you want here. And then to keep it nice and green, we have a little bit of sodium bisulfite. So sodium bisulfite, we've done a full recipe or a full episode with recipes. And what that does is it's going to keep these things very green. So when I blend in my cilantro here and I have my green onions in there, it's going to keep it nice and kind of that bright green for when I make my noodles.
Neat.
And then obviously we have our burger binder here. So I'm just going to place this on top, and I'm going to put in the cilantro last. I just want to get this blended up. So I'm going to blend it up until it's kind of like a nice smooth mixture, and then I'm going to add my burger binder, and then I'm going to add my cilantro right at the end.
Okay.
Yep, so
And as you're blending, why didn't you just dump the burger binder in there with everything else?
that's a very good point. So if I were to dump the burger binder in there, there's a possibility that it could clump. And if it clumps, then that clump could either, get stuck inside your syringe or your whatever you're using to make the noodles, or if it's a big enough clump, you're not getting that full viscosity. And nobody wants to eat just like a big clump of powder that's kind of encapsulated in there.
Right.
So I make sure that it's going right, and then I'm going to get my burger binder here, and then just knock it down a little bit so it's not blending so high. And I'm going to mix in my burger binder, and you're going to see it thicken up almost immediately, right?
Yeah, okay, you can see it right now.
Yeah, once I got that last little bit in, it thickens up almost immediately.
Yep.
Now, one thing to notice right now, it's taking in a lot of air. It's capturing a lot of air, and it gets that kind of very opaque look to it. So we're going to have to give this a little bit of time. If, let's say, you have a food saver at home or a vacuum sealer, you could put it in there and try and suck out some of that air.
Okay.
If you just take this and put it into a container and let it sit overnight, it's going to get rid of the majority of that air. A little bit of air bubbles in there is totally fine, but obviously you don't want it so much so that when you make your noodles, they just completely float to the top. A little bit of floating is nice for the garnish, but they should kind of half sink and half float. So I'm going to add in my little bit of cilantro here, and I'm just going to blend this in. And then, like I said, we would naturally strain this, but that would take a long time on camera, so we're just going to get to this point where I blend this in. It's going to turn it nice and green.
Okay. And we do have videos where Scott is doing all of this from start to finish, and you can see that depending on the channel, either later this week or you might have seen it already on our Instagram.
Great. So really simple right there. And then what you would do is obviously let this get the air out, and then you would draw it up into something like our perfect caviar maker, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put some hot broth in here, and you can use any broth, anything from veggie, but you just have to make sure that you follow our pho recipe so that you get all the nice flavors in. We have some nice hot broth here. So I'm just going to fill these up.
I can see this also if you want to make like a really fun chicken noodle soup. That would be kind of a fun
you
thing
absolutely
to do
could
as
do
well.
that.
Yeah.
As long as you get the flavors right? If you want to do like a mirepoix to make, chicken soup noodles with a little bit of bay leaf in there, you can absolutely do this. So you can kind of cater the recipe to exactly what you want to do. So I'm just going to get these nice, and you have this nice rich broth. Lots of deep flavors in there, and then we're going to add kind of the brightness with these instant noodles.
Okay.
So as I put it in there, it's going to set immediately and make a noodle.
Ooh, yep.
You can see it there.
It's really fun because it's coming out like super thick, but still a liquid, and then there you go. Noodles.
Yeah, you get those noodles right on top, and a little bit of garnish. Janie, here you go.
Oh, thank you.
You'll be able to see the noodles kind of come up with it.
Yep, so you can kind of see it's still floating even though, it's floating on the ginger too, but it is floating even though we let it rest.
Yeah, they kind of go halfway down. If you have a nice little like glass bowl or something, it makes for a nice garnish. You can see it here.
Yeah, it's super pretty. And then what do you recommend for eating? Because I know that if we let it cool to room temp, then the noodles will fall apart. So what do you recommend
So for
here?
this, a very small portion, either appetizer or even amuse-bouche, very small portion, because it is very strong in flavor. You get that ginger, the cilantro, everything in there. So if you get just 1 to 3 bites is all you really need for it. But if you were to make a full kind of bowl of pho out of this, it's going to be a lot of flavor. But then after time, like I said, that methylcellulose is going to kind of revert back to a little bit of a liquid, and it'll fall apart a little bit in there. But on top of that, we did some other great things. So we did our plant-based hot dog recipe that we made up. And the reason why we want to show this here is that this uses mainly the burger binder. This doesn't use any other methylcellulose.
Okay.
This doesn't even use TVP because we want it to be very smooth, and the TVP has more of a texture.
Okay.
So this is mainly burger binder, so you get that kind of really strong snap you would get from a hot dog. And we get the color and the flavor right. And we did a few different tests, and we found that we liked it without the skin on. So we did it where we just wrapped it up in this plastic. We just blanch it quickly, take it out, put it in the oven to dry it off, and then cook it in a pan just like you would a normal hot dog. But if you wanted to, you could also take our sausage recipe and you could put the skin on the outside. That's absolutely something that you can do with this recipe. It just takes a little bit more time to do that. But yeah, if you want to try one of these hot dogs, Janie, go right ahead. And I'm very proud of this recipe because it tastes just like a hot dog that you would get, right?
Yeah, and it looks like it too. I remember when Scott was prototyping it and he brought one to me, I was like, oh, this like is really good. You really can't tell that it's plant-based. And I also realized that I misspoke earlier. So the video you can see on our other channels is making of the hot dog, not making of the pho. So that's on me.
But if you want it, right, comment below, and then we will make a little small video for this if you want to see the full process. But the recipe is also going to be on the blog and in the description below, so you'll be able to get that recipe as well.
And I know that, didn't you feed this to your kid?
Yeah, I brought some home and fed it to my 4-year-old boy, and whose favorite food is hot dogs. And he didn't know that they weren't meat, so that's a win. And yeah, and they're great, and they taste just like hot dogs, especially if you're putting things on them, ketchup, mustard, whatever it is that you put on a hot dog, you can put on this, and not necessarily fool, but you can have something great that's plant-based that you wouldn't know, right? You don't have to think in your mind, oh, I want this to be more like meat. This tastes like meat. This is probably the best one that we've made so far.
Yep, it's 4-year-old approved, so you know it's good. So to get all today's recipes, you can just go to the links in the description below. There's going to be a ton of different information as we're kind of starting to dive more into different ingredients and trying to come out with new recipes for them. If there is anything that you would like to see, leave them in the comments below. If you do try anything, tag us on social media. We love hearing from you and seeing what you're working with. So from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Guerin. Thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell so you get notified when we drop a new video.
To get today's recipes and all of our recipes, remember to go to blog.modernistpantry.com where you'll get recipes, ask a chefs, tips and tricks, and more.
And if you haven't already, tell a friend so they know what's going on here at WTF.
And as always, to get any of the ingredients you saw today, you can go to modernistpantry.com to shop.
And until next time, we'll be here in the test kitchen helping you create memorable and magical experiences.